Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Jonathan and I look at tech companies for investors. And today I'm going to be having a look at Palantir Technologies Inc. I'm going to be having a look at what the company does and I will try and explain it in a non-technical way. And then I'm also going to be having a look at their revenue for 2020 to see if it's actually a good company to be invested in. Now, please bear in mind that this is not investing advice. Do not base any buying or selling decisions on the content of this video. Please do extensive research before you buy any companies. And just before we get into it, if you do like the video, I would really appreciate if you hit that like button. So who are Palantir and what do they offer? Who are their main customers and what is their kind of main product? So they have two main customer groups, and that is either very large companies with 500 million plus in revenue a year or governments. Now, these bodies collect a massive amount of data, and for them to actually get any value of that data, they need to have tools and algorithms to take out what they need. And that's where Palantir comes in. It just has the tools and offers the service that allows its customers to understand the data that they already have a little bit better and a little bit easier. So let's say that I have 1,000 people and I only want the people who have brown hair. Now, I can look at the people and I can go through each individual one and check and see if they have brown hair and group them together. Or I can use some query or some algorithm to sort the people based on the color of their hair without having to go through each individual one. That's all data analysis really is. It's about seeing a group of data or having a group of data and just taking out what you need and then using that. I hope that made sense, but that's the kind of very uncomplicated way to look at. Now, there's a lot more that you can do with data. You can use locational data, you can use... Now, I want to have a look at their stock price, then I will have a quick look at their revenue for 2020, and then I'll kind of express my final thoughts on Palantir as an investment. Firstly, let's actually have a look at the stock price. So right now, today's date is the 26th of the 2nd, so February 2020. And right now, Palantir has a market cap of 44.8 billion. Its 52-week range went from about $9 to $45. It's sitting around $23, $24. It's kind of been hovering around $20, $25. And it's, well, that's pretty much all the information we really have just now. So having a look at their trailing 12 months, or TTM, their total revenue was around 1 billion and their cost of revenue was about 358 billion, which is actually pretty good when you compare those, because that actually is quite a clear-cut way to see that their cost of revenue is about 36% of their total revenue, which is actually pretty promising. Their selling and marketing expense, so that's kind of like sales, is around 650 million, which is quite substantial actually, considering the company's been around for, well, what's it, 17 years now? Research and development is also quite heavy. They're sitting at over $500 million in research and development. And the other kind of main and most concerning thing I see is the general and administrative expense. Because with general and administrative expense, that tends not to be kind of adjustable. Now, if you actually add their cost of revenue to their general and administration, because I subtract the selling and marketing and the research and development because those are kind of more luxury spendings and things that can be, if it comes to it, cut back. If you actually combine their general and administrations and their cost of revenue, it pretty much eats away at their total revenue. Or if you subtract that from the total revenue, that leaves about 27 million. Quickly check with the calculator here. You have 26.754 million. So that is, if you leave out the sales and marketing, that is their kind of, I would call it the kind of true margin. So not actually that great. You've got a company with $1 billion in revenue, and if you take away the cost of that revenue from like their inflexible cost of general and administration, then you're left with 27 million. But here we actually have their official revenue, and you can see in the year ending December 31st of 2020, they made 1.1 billion, give or take, and their cost of revenue was 352.5 million. Now, looking at their expenses for sales and marketing, they had 683.7 million, still quite a lot. Their research and development expense was about 560 million, and their general and administrative costs were 669 million. Now, if you add all that up together, you end up with a loss from operations of 1.173.6 billion. Now, I know kind of tech companies run at a loss, but as I was saying earlier about the kind of two main not flexible expenses, which is general and administrative, and the cost of revenue, if you add these up, they are still only left with about 70 million of clean kind of margin, which isn't actually that great. And I think the kind of main reason for it is the fact that Palantir isn't actually your conventional tech company, in the fact that it doesn't leverage the internet. Because most tech companies, as soon as they put an application or a piece of software live, they have access to almost 7 billion customers. Whereas Palantir, their target customers are only around 5,000 companies and maybe a few governments across the world. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm just saying that it does restrict them quite heavily. Now, right now, Palantir has around 125 customers. And with 125 customers, their costs are already so high that they're running at losses of almost $1 billion a year. Now, if you do the maths and you kind of see that profit margin, which is very, very small, you can understand why. It's because they actually have a very small group of customers. So they have to offer a really good service. And for them to offer a really good service, they have to invest highly in research and development in order to stay ahead of the possible competition. And they also have to invest heavily in sales and marketing because their target audience is so small, they have to be very precise. And they also have to work on getting those customers and investing more on getting fewer customers, if that makes sense. And their general and administrative costs just involves pretty much managing all their customers, being pretty much there for their customers at all times, and also probably kind of staying ahead of data protection laws and updating dashboards or making specific dashboards for specific companies. So in my opinion, this puts a lot of restrictions on Palantir to grow, because as they grow, they need to find some way in order to turn a profit. And the way they're set up just now, I can't actually see how they could do that. Now, they may have a plan and they may put a plan in place, but for them to change their entire business structure seems highly unlikely, because that's what they're known for. If they start to cut corners, then they could potentially lose their biggest customer, which is governments. And when you're dealing with people's data, you have to tread carefully. I do hope you have enjoyed this video and it has been informative to you. If you did enjoy this video, I would really appreciate if you did like the video. Comment down below if you have any suggestions for companies you would like me to have a look into. And if you do like the content, then please consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you very much, and I will see you next time.